Hi guys, and welcome to my next video. In today's video we're going to be talking about 10 pro tips about working from home or working remotely. If you're new to my channel, I do videos about freelancing, working remotely, small business and personal finance. If you're interested in any of these topics, I recommend subscribing and hitting the bell notification button to know when my new videos get published. We're going to jump straight into the video, 10 pro tips about working from home. Tip number 1, show up, dress up, be the best you can be on that day. For me, that means making sure that I wake up around the same time, dressing in the appropriate clothing for the appropriate day. For example, when I'm working from home or working remotely, I try to make sure that I always wear a shirt. This makes me feel more professional, and often when I'm in meetings, I find that that feeling transposes into the behavior or my behavior when I'm having these calls and meetings. If I had to wear this kind of clothing or casual clothing in meetings, I find that I might get a bit distracted. What does showing up mean for me? Showing up is really composed of a few different things. It means making sure that the right habits and behaviors are in place for me to start the day well. Waking up, for example, at a normal or regular time, being clean and fresh and feeling fresh of mind, and wearing the appropriate clothing for the appropriate day or activity. For my work, working in digital and in advertising, I often have to have remote calls or conference calls with people from different projects or different offices. It's important that I look the part and feel the part so that I'm acting professionally. Separating from my time at home where I'm relaxing and just chilling out, I try to wear the appropriate clothing for the meetings. This is because sometimes they request video access. If I'm wearing a shirt and looking quite professional, I think that both makes me look professional and I feel more professional. So for me, that's showing up. Pro tip number 2 working from home is managing your time and your calendar well. The advice I can give you about this is to look at your calendar and block time for specific activities. Even if you have nothing to do, it might be a good idea to think about things that are helpful for you in your work. It might be, for example, cleaning and maintaining your workspace. It might be planning next week or next month. It might be learning or research. It might be even catching up with colleagues. Whatever it is, if you block it in your calendar, you know that you have that period of time in that day, wherever you're working, whether it's working from home or working remotely or even at work, and other colleagues, if it's a shared calendar, can see that you're busy doing those things. There are several benefits to this. You look organized, you feel organized, it helps you manage time and potentially procrastination, and also it shows that you have certain slots for meetings for other people when they want to book time with you. Pro tip number 3. The third pro tip from working from home or working remotely is about your devices. Nowadays we work in a multi-device world. Just right here, I'll switch the camera around for a moment and you can see how many devices I have. I have my phone, I've got my laptop, I've got laptop number 1, I've got a computer, I've got another laptop, I've got another laptop. There's just so many devices. I also have an iMac, and I've got a range of tablets, and also TVs nowadays are smart TVs and have all sorts of capabilities. So what do we do when we're trying to work from home and focus? Manage your devices. If you can manage your devices well, it means you can limit distractions, you can segment your work, you can focus on the work that you need to do, and in a way you can segment your focus and your attention. This makes it a lot easier to separate your personal life, or in my case, my personal life, and my work responsibilities. What I've got here in my office is I've got one PC which is just for work. It's a work laptop, they provide it, and it means it's a lot easier for me just to focus on doing that kind of work. I also have a laptop just for my personal things. I have a phone for my personal things. In some contracts I get a work mobile as well, which means that helps as well to segment and have just work activity on that work mobile. What are the other tips about devices? Turning off devices completely can help. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is to log into your phone. You don't have to turn it off completely. You can just smash on the, smash on the airplane mode. You can see that. You can just smash on the airplane mode and then you'll get a lot less distractions text messages and all that kind of thing. The other thing you can do is actually turn off the devices. If you turn them off, they've got zero chance of bothering you or distracting you, and it's an extra step or extra bit of friction for you then to turn them back on and get distracted. Tip number 4, avoid your home habits. What do I mean by this? I mean, often people have like a home routine or home habits, comfort habits they fall into when they come back from work. That might be watching TV, browsing social media, going on the internet, reading magazines or newspapers. When you're working from home, it can feel, when you start working from home at least, it can feel like you have a lot more time to do all of these things. But if you just go on Facebook for a while, you can easily, and everyone does this, you can get sucked into a hole, or even a hole on YouTube, and 30 minutes later you're still there on YouTube or on Facebook. The easiest thing is to avoid your home or personal habits until the end of the day. If you start mixing sort of work and your personal things during the day, you can find that you get distracted easier, and it's a real effort to switch. So I actually do not use social media during the day, ever. I think it's a bit of distraction. I don't like to do it. Similarly, I don't even turn on the television or the smart TV or any tablets or anything like that. So what I would suggest is, whatever the home habit is, even if it's gaming or if it's working out at the gym, try to balance your day so that you can get all the work that you need to do, or your boss or your employer or your client is asking you to do. If you do that first, you can then reward yourself at the end of the day. And that's when you've got free time, whether it's lunchtime or after work, you can then get all of that fun stuff done then. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is about balance. Balance your day and have variety. What do I mean by balancing your day and having variety? What I mean is, I'm the kind of person that needs variety. Having spoken to a lot of people in different organizations, I'm not unique. We actually can focus a lot better when we have a mix of different activities. So what can you do? You can mix up detail or focus-driven work, where some people call it in flow. When you need hardcore attention, that might be when you're deep into Excel or deep reading a long article, or whether you're deep designing something or coding something, whatever kind of freelance work or contract work that you do, you could do intense activity there, and then you can balance it up with something slightly different. So what I do within my own work is I'll do the analysis part of my work in blocks. I might do an hour or 2 hours of that, with blocks in between of maybe 5-minute breaks for every hour or so. And then after that, I'll do something completely different. I might have a conference call, I might have a phone call, I might do some research, etc., etc. And this breaks up my day. I find that really helpful. The other thing about variety is where you work. You might find that working in one place is good, but after a certain period of time, you need a little bit of a different vibe, a different atmosphere, etc. Like in this case, I sometimes work out of this room, and I find that I can focus in a sort of different way because this room has slightly different ambiance or a slightly different atmosphere. So mix it up. If you're working from home, see where works for you. Sometimes people like to have a dedicated space like an office. Personally, I do like to work out of the studio or my office behind me, but at the same time, I do like that variety. So sometimes I'll spend a couple of hours in there, then I'll come in here for a couple of hours, then I might go into the garden or to another location. Yeah, like mixing it up, like for me, provides, I guess it just helps me to, so you can vary where you do tasks and maybe even clients. Some people might do, if you have multiple clients, you might want to do one client at a different location and another elsewhere, and also task variation. I find that sort of balances the energy of the day, as well as keeping me motivated and not distracted. Tip number 6 is to take breaks. It's really important when you're freelancing and working remotely that you don't overwork. If you enjoy your work, you can get really into it. And the issue with this is that it's quite easy to overwork. And if you're doing this on a regular basis, it can quite easily lead to burnout. One way to avoid burnout is to take regular breaks. What I try to do is to take short breaks regularly. This might include a walk around the block, I might go in the garden for 5 minutes, maybe go for a cup of tea. But anyway, it's really important to take breaks. It manages almost the cognitive load or the stress that you might be having. Just take a few breaths or take a walk outside. Tip number 7, it almost relates to what I was talking about earlier about devices. Try, if you can, if it's possible, to have a separate device for your work. This means that your mind is basically already thinking about that. It's in that sort of that track of thinking. If you buy, for example, if you're working film or video, a lot of people suggest buying sort of Apple products and getting an Apple laptop or whatever, and you can use that primarily for work. If you're in marketing, you can pretty much do it from more or less any decent laptop. And what I've got is I've got a Dell laptop for my work. I use HP for my other work, and I just segment that differently. So I've got one for work and I've got one laptop for personal. Tip number 8 is to have some regularity in terms of what times you eat. When you're working from home, if you're getting really into your work, and this has happened to me, you can miss meal times. So you can work, for example, from, 9 until 2, and then suddenly it's 2 or 2:30 and you haven't got lunch ready and you're very hungry and you end up ordering a takeaway or something, which is a really bad bad habit to get into. Instead, if you can manage your day and your time effectively, what I'd suggest is to have those regular meal times planned. I take it a step further and actually have the lunch times booked out in my calendar. This means that anybody I'm working with is very cognizant and understands that that is my lunchtime. I won't get bothered, I won't get distracted. And if you struggle even further on this, a further pro tip is you can actually set an alarm in your phone, if you've got your phone on, or even a notification on your work laptop to suggest in 10-15 minutes it's lunchtime, so you know when to wind down for food. If you're interested in managing your day and managing your time more effectively when you're working from home, you can batch cook. This means cooking a number of meals in one sitting. Tip number 9, get fresh air. It's important to regularly get fresh air. I find getting fresh air is great just to clear the mind and be able to refocus on the next activity. Design your day around you as much as you can. Try to design the activities for the time periods that work for the way you work. Everybody works slightly differently. I find that I can do some thinking activities, for example, in mid-morning and at sort of mid-evening, and the rest of the time I like to sort of manage that time slightly differently and have meetings and have conversations and do other types of work. So balance the time according to what you are interested and good at. Pro tip number 10 is to plan shorter activities. If, for example, you've got 30 minutes to do an activity, I find that actually gives me a deadline and helps me to focus on it quite intently for that time period. Now, this tip might not work for everybody. What about you? What are your tips for working remotely or working from home? Even if you're not a freelancer or a contractor and you're just working from home as part of flexible working patterns from your employer. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want me to answer a question, query, or issue you're having at work or with a client, pop it down in the comments below or send me a quick email to progressiseverything@gmail.com. I'll try my best to reply to those emails, and I may even feature the comment. I can anonymize it if you like. I can feature that comment in a video where I answer it and help other people in our community. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to know more about my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you check out my other videos for tips, tricks and hacks, as well as other pros and cons.